Hello, juniors. This is Mrs. Halverson that you hear. In real life, we maybe would have had the service fair today and we would have talked about all of this in person, but instead, you get my voice and this screen. I'm sure you're really excited about that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are talking about preparing for the service program that is your senior year. This page shows the four themes of the service program throughout your time at Baden: awareness, call to action, relationship, and servant leadership. So, your freshman year, the theme was awareness, and we started in the classroom learning about issues of social justice and starting to talk about how things in our society are not always quite fair. There are issues that are not just and not right, and we want to learn more about those and see how we might be able to contribute to make those things better. Moving along to sophomore year, the theme was call to action. We spent Urban Action Days in Over the Rhine, each of you having the chance to serve in an agency, doing either direct service with people or indirect service behind the scenes work, to kind of see in action what nonprofits do to address those issues of social injustice. This year, your theme was relationship. At last year's service fair, each of you were asked to choose an agency to partner with for your junior year, an issue that you cared about, something that might matter to you, so that you would have a chance to build relationship with the people you worked with the people you worked for, maybe the animals you worked with. Also, just really hopefully having the chance to learn a lot about the agency you chose and the issue that you were serving. So these are a handful of my favorite pictures of you all this year. Some of you had pretty incredible experiences building relationship and learning about the work these agencies are doing and contributing to that in your own way. Your reflection papers were amazing, by the way. I was very grateful to get to read about the experiences that you had. So thank you. So moving on from relationship, will be diving into senior year. And the theme of your senior year is servant leadership. There's going to be a lot of information here, so I'm going to talk through it as quickly as I can. You will be given a link to some information that you can read over, and then Mrs. Enderley and I will probably try to do a class with you next week or the following week so that we can kind of talk through some questions. But this should get us started. Okay. Servant leadership is the final theme of the Christian service program at Baden. During your senior year, you will be asked to lead a project for an agency of your choice. This is a small group small group project. You may have 2, 3, or 4 people in your group. And this is also a cross-curricular project. There will be aspects of this that go along with your religion class, part with your English class, and possibly with history class as well. So the central piece of the Servant Leadership Project is a project that you will design and implement as a group for the agency of your choice that will hopefully meet a need of that agency. The project itself does not require a specific number of hours. We estimate that you might individually spend about 24 hours creating this service project and working on it, possibly a little bit less, and definitely some of you probably will spend more than that amount of time on it. You will work under the supervision of a community member at that agency, and with me as well. And our hope is that this project gives you a real experience of leadership in the world of service and nonprofits, so that you can kind of see how you can best use your gifts to make a difference in our world. We divide it up in 4 parts. The first part is going to happen now, which is why we are talking about it now, even though we're not in school. Propose and plan. So the first aspect of this is going to be you coming up with your proposal, deciding who your group is going to be, deciding what agency you're going to work with. You would have had the chance at the service fair to talk to different agencies about specific needs they might have for a project or a task. Unfortunately, that's not happening, as you know, but you're going to be given some materials and some resources that you can reach out to agencies instead of talking to them in person. So coming up with your proposal and a plan for your project is going to be your first part. And whether we're in school or not, that will happen by the end of this school year. Part two will happen next year during school through your English class and possibly through your history class. Um, all of you will individually write your research paper for your senior year, whatever English class you are in, and it will be connected to your senior service leadership project. So you don't really have to worry about this part right now, but just know at this point that your research paper is going to be connected to your project. It will be a grade for your English teacher, and that is kind of separate from the service program. So researching and exploring will be part of this, but it will happen through English. It may also happen through history. If you are taking AP Gov next year, you guys will be required to do a civic action project. And Mr. Seitz will be talking to you about that in the future. That piece would happen in the second semester next year, if that's part of your schedule. So part three is the actual service project itself. This is mainly what we're going to be talking about. And this can happen whenever it works for your schedule. Some of you might want to do this summer. If that works better for your schedule, it could happen in the fall or it could happen in the winter of your senior year. So that is something that when we talk about your proposal over the next couple months, we will figure out when it's going to work best with your schedule to make it happen. So planning the actual project and leading the actual project, that is part three. The final piece, which is a long way away and kind of hard to think about right now when we haven't even gotten started, but you will be having time to present your project and to reflect upon it as well. So you will be giving a presentation with your group about your project and how it went for you. And we will be having something called a STANG symposium next year, where you'll get a chance to present your experience of doing this project to faculty, to your parents, to community members, and to Baden students as well. You will also be writing a reflection paper as a part of your English class. Again, that will be an English grade. So that will complete part four, and all of that will happen in the spring of next year. Okay, that's a lot of information. What might this actually look like in real life? Okay, I'm going to give you one kind of example, start to finish. Say that you partnered with a nursing home this year for your junior year relationship service and you loved it. You loved getting to know the residents. You loved spending time at the nursing home. You loved the director of the nursing home and the people that work there. So you decide that you want to do your project there. And you gather two other people who are also interested to be your partners. So you have a team of three. You meet with the director at the nursing home and you brainstorm ideas. And at this meeting, you guys decide that you're going to plan a senior prom for the residents of the nursing home. And it will be a chance for them to socialize and listen to music and dance around in their wheelchairs. And you have all kinds of fun ideas for this. You decide that your group wants to do the event over the summer because all three of you will be busy with work and college applications and sports during the school year. So you get right to work. So part one is your proposal and your plan. So you will fill out the proposal worksheet that you'll be getting from me later. You list the members of your group and your agency and the timeline and the plan for your project. You have this sheet signed by the director of the nursing home, and you turn that into me and Mrs. Enderly. And this is finished by May of this year. You start with part two. You're doing some research on what would make a fun senior prom. You're doing that piece. When you get to back to school in the fall, you will be writing your research paper on this. So say you have Mrs. Thompson, you work with her and decide that the most interesting thing you think about nursing home care is Alzheimer's disease and the effect that has on the patients that you're working with and on their families. So you decide that you're going to do your research paper on that. Say you are in AP Gov when it gets to that point in the year to do your civic action project. You talk to Mr. Seitz about your options, and you decide to do that on the policies affecting the elderly in our community. So part two of your research and exploration of this project happens throughout the course of your senior year. Part three is what you would be doing this summer. You plan the senior prom. You do a little bit of fundraising so that you have a budget to use for decorations and for food. You work with the director at the nursing home. You send out invitations to the residents, and you have this event. You take lots of pictures. You take some video, and you have a great time. And the final piece then is next spring that you present to us. You show us your pictures, you tell us about the senior prom, you show us a little video, talk about what this experience meant to you and how you learned as a result. So that is just one example, kind of start to finish, of what this could look like. There are some other examples here. And I won't go into too much depth so you don't get too tired of me talking, but I will make sure this is added to the information that I pass along to you afterwards so you can read some other ideas of what students could do for something like this. You might choose to do something with education. You could teach a lesson at a local grade school about the issue and the agency you're working with. There's all kinds of different ideas here. So I'm going to, instead of talking about them, I'm just going to pass them along and let you read some of these on your own time. I also have included some examples from students at other schools. Several of our kind of partner schools, who are also Notre Dame schools, Notre Dame Learning Academies, do similar projects in their senior year. There's a couple of examples here from CJ and Dayton. This is a video of a senior project from some of their students. This is an example that some students there did where they collected prom dresses for young women who could not afford to buy their own prom dresses. An example of another capstone group at CJ who started work on the environment and started some clubs about the environment and going green at their school. And then there's another video of a group who created a documentary about poverty and one of the agencies that serves poverty in their community. So I'm going to pass this along to you, a link to this, so that you can kind of read it more carefully and see what some of those options are so that you can get a feel for what a project might actually look like. Okay, so how do you get started? I'm sure it feels a little bit overwhelming, especially when we're like not in the room to talk about it and when you don't have the service fair to talk to agencies about it. But start by asking yourself some questions. First of all, what was your experience like of service your junior year? Some of you talked in your essay about how it wasn't a good fit for you and you want to do something different next year. Some of you already had ideas for your servant leadership project and wrote about that in your essay. So this is going to be different, I think, for each of you. But if you had a positive experience and you want to work with your agency again, then what ideas do you have? Start brainstorming what you might be able to do for an agency like the one that you worked with. Reach out to the director of the agency and ask them if they have any needs. Maybe they need a promotional video and you could do that for them. Maybe, the director of the nursing home has always wanted to do a senior prom and has never had anyone to run it. Ask them, reach out, and you can do that now. You can send an email. You can actually make a phone call, as crazy as that sounds. If you did not have a positive experience or you know that you want to do something different, think about what issues or agencies you want to work with. Ask your friends if you guys want to work together. And then think about how you can reach out to this new agency and see if that is a good fit for you. Think about what kind of service you want to do. Do you want to do something behind the scenes? Do you want to plan an event that's working right with the people who need you? Do you want it to be more of an educational project? Are you really good with technology? Would it be good to do something like that? So think about your own gifts, what you're good at and what you love to do, and how you might be able to use that for this experience. Then you want to think about who your group is going to be. 2, 3, or 4 is what we're talking about here with how many people you can work with. Make sure you guys have the same interests. Make sure you're going to work well together and that the timing will work well for you. If you're all going to be free in the summer, great. If someone's going to be gone all summer and can't help and needs to do it in the school year, then they would probably need to be with a different group. So think about those things. Let's see, what else? Talk to the agencies, reach out and talk to me. Obviously, you can email me. We can set up a time to meet over FaceTime, whatever could work. I know these agencies very well. I know these directors. I know some of their needs, so I might be able to help you get started. Just one of my favorite quotes: never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So keep this in mind as you get started, as much as this might feel like work and a little bit of an overwhelming task at this point. You guys have a possibility to do something really good for our community here. So try to think of it in those terms. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up, and I might add a second one showing you the worksheets. Thanks for listening. Let's see if I can get this to stop.